CS&A, we believe that practice makes perfect. Crisis management can be taught in classrooms, you can have a plan, but unless you practice, you're not going to get better at it. What we try to do with this scenario is create something that would be suitable across the audience, because basically there were a lot of consultants, quite a few corporates, but all the corporates were from different industries. So we tried to take something that was somewhat neutral. What we really wanted to do was to have those different stakeholder groups interacting with the company in crisis to make them feel, quote unquote, real. And have the interactions and the different pressures coming from these different stakeholder groups. And of course, with the platform that we use for simulation, which is actually developed and owned by the University of Maryland, but we have the exclusive right to use it globally. Actually, this platform allows also for social media interaction completely securely. So we had a media and a social media team, and everybody could see the posts and comment on the posts, as well as all the other type of interventions that the stakeholders would have in a scenario like this. The principles of dealing and engaging with social media in normal times and in a crisis is very similar to the time before social media. That means if you get to know your community, if you have a degree of engagement, if you learn how to play, and I'm using the word play in quotes, you can then have a chance at actually communicating and having some sort of influence during a crisis. What social media does, and for instance the NGOs are great users of social media, is that it brings those stakeholders much closer to the crisis scene than it did 10 years ago, when it was no social media, because all of a sudden you may have a crisis in China, but somebody who's interested in the subject and is on Facebook halfway across the world in Latin America, all of a sudden can become a stakeholder. So so it's speed and obviously the spread and the extent of interactions and influences from different stakeholders that makes it much more difficult to deal with and time consuming.
In many cases, the social media to tabloid press. I mean, do you react to every rumor, to every accusation that's out there? I don't think so. As a company, as a corporate body, I don't think you react to everything. You do need to watch it very carefully because, as we said earlier, things can spiral out of control. And if there is any foundation to what's being said on those media, then indeed you need to address it. You need to address it as a corporate citizen. You don't address it as an individual, because as a company you are a corporate citizen and you don't work with social media as individuals. The comments you make are still comments on behalf of the companies.